Hello and welcome to this QuickBooks Online training. Oftentimes, what we see happening is that entrepreneurs and even their bookkeepers and their accountants are using, with the quotation marks, QuickBooks, but they're really not using it to its advantage and to their advantage. Oftentimes, you're going to see it murky and not really be able to make sense of the numbers when the whole point of this accounting system is actually to make sense of the numbers so you can build a profitable business. So what we're going to cover in this training are 3 core areas that you want to focus on that you can instantly change after watching this training to allow yourself to get a better grasp of actually what's happening in your business and to give yourself a better financial lens. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Simone Simone CR for short. I am a CPA, definitely a user of QuickBooks. All my clients use QuickBooks, and I'm going to teach you just some of the basic things that are going to help you get really clear and confident. So let me share my screen. What we're looking at is a sample file. Now, all QBO has sample files. If you are an accountant or a bookkeeper using QuickBooks for your clients, you have instant access to this. If you're actually a business, you can go to the link that I'll put below to play around with the sample file. Now, why do we have a sample company? This is a great sandbox for you to test out new things, to practice journal entries, and to get a clear view on maybe something that you want to implement in your QBO, but you don't want to make a big change to it. So it is really great to have a sample file. As you are working on your QBO, you can work with me alongside of me. So what I want you to do, if you haven't already, pull up your QBO and make sure that as I'm teaching you this real time, you can actually make and adjust the settings. The great thing about this being on a replay is that you can just pause me. I'm not going to go anywhere. So imagine our experience as a business owner. I'm looking at QuickBooks to know how much cash I have, my financial performance, maybe if I'm responsible for doing invoicing, maybe some of that kind of stuff, or maybe that's my bookkeeper, which I hope that is, or somebody on your team doing that type of work. Now, this is the instant view that you get, your home page on QuickBooks, so you want to make sure that it is working for you. So what I like to do is customize it. And so what I'd love you to do right now is make sure that it is fully customized for you and for your financial goals and objectives of using it. If you're actually doing more administrative tasks like invoicing, you'd probably see that first, versus if you're the CEO of your business, if you're the business owner and you're looking at your financials, your view is going to be very different. So first, you always want to know what's up with the bank. Instant bank balance tells us cash flow. And then we'll go and move our profit and loss to actually see how we are financially performing. I always like to know expenses because it's something that is very controllable. And I'll put a cash flow trend here. And if I have some open invoices, I'll know actually what's been unpaid. So that's my account balances, money coming in. So this will be actually my view. So now what I can actually experience going in here, instantly look at my banking, know what's going on. My P&L, I can also save this for the last 30 days, this month, to actually know what my current financial performance is. My expenses, I can look in many different time periods. Let's do it again this month. And the AR is the invoices about what's been overdue, not yet due, and deposited. So a really good view there. So that's our first thing. Is this working for you? Because the amount of time that is lost by inefficiencies in QBO is ridiculous. If you can shorten your pathway to doing something by just a few minutes each time that you do it, over the course of the year, you have saved hours by doing these simplified tasks. So this is one of the big things. Our next that we're going to do is look at our use of the dashboard, of the sidebar. So when you're coming into QuickBooks, you probably have your own way of finding things. If you're not yet using the bookmark section, this is going to again save you a lot of time. So you want to bookmark here certain things that you're looking at often. So sales, if you are kind of analyzing your customer and your CRM and just kind of what's happening with your customers, you could put it there. We already have bank transactions, which I can walk you through. And then one of the bigger things is reporting. So if we have customized or if we have standard reports, right now I'm going to go to standard, and then later on in this session, I will also teach you how to do custom reports that are so great for you actually being able to analyze your business. And then I also want to go to our, where is it? Transactions and our chart of accounts, because this is one of the big mistakes that a lot of businesses make with our chart of accounts that I want to walk you through. So again, this is just a very simple tool that now when you come in here, okay, let me go to my bank transactions. And this is the full view of actually what's happening with your banking, if you've had things reconciled, where you are with that, what still needs to be reviewed, what's already categorized by all of your bank accounts. Now, if you've already got questions about using this functionality, this is something that we talk about in Money Like a Boss that really goes over, the full force of using QBO. So as you can see, you can access your bank transactions. This is something that you'll be wanting to look at least once a week. And your bookkeeper, if you have a lot of transactions, they're going to be doing this quite often. Customers is nice because this is where all your money is coming from. We can see at a quick glance, what we have in overdue invoices, in open invoices, and recently paid. But we also can go look at our sales data, our invoices, if we're using the estimate function in QuickBooks, if we've got sales orders, if we've got recurring payments, deposits, customers, and also we can see our products and services. So a very robust view here. Invoicing is very nice because you actually can see what's happened and what's been invoiced as of today. The next one we're going to go to is actually our chart of accounts. And this is the second point that I wanted to talk to you about. If you've ever felt that you look at your financial reports, they don't make sense, you're confused about what's happening, they don't really feel like they match the reality of your business, it's because more likely than not, you haven't architected the chart of accounts well, because your chart of accounts is what flows to your financial statements. So your chart of accounts, what we're looking at right now, is actually the detail that flows to your financial statements. So oftentimes you might have just got a template from QBO and said, you know what, this seems like this fits my business, but there are so many accounts that you're not really using that aren't applicable to your business, or you haven't organized them well. And most of the times is that you haven't organized them well and you haven't simplified your chart of accounts. Because what happens is if somebody's doing your bookkeeping, or maybe even you're doing it and you're doing it in a hurry, you might have a few chart of accounts that are very similar. And each time that you do your bookkeeping, or somebody that does it doesn't necessarily code it to the correct chart of accounts. What's going to happen is that when you pull your financial statements, you're not going to see a true reality, because the expenses or even the income that has been incurred for its balance sheet, the balance sheet items that was associated with an inflow or an outflow of cash, isn't truly representing what has happened. And the reason is because the chart of accounts is not simplified enough. There's too many accounts and they're not categorized correctly. So making a big change to your chart of accounts is everything. Now with the new QBO, what's nice is that you can see in the account type if it's your balance sheet or your P&L, which is really nice. I suggest putting and using your numbers in your chart of accounts. And you usually can do that. No, not here, but you can look at this in a very cool way. You can see all 200. So you want to have each of these accounts would have a number. And if you create sub-accounts, and when you create sub-accounts, there would be numbers associated with that. But let me just show you a little bit about, if I just analyze this quickly as a CPA, what I'm seeing here. So here, these are all the balance sheets. So, okay, that makes sense. And I'll be able to analyze it more when we look at the profit and loss together and the balance sheet. So we've got our fixed assets, we've got our payables, we've got our equity. So not that many chart of accounts for the balance sheet, which makes sense. But as we get into our income, we've got, look at this, 1, 2, 3. We've got so many income accounts, almost 20 income accounts. Now, I'll show you this when we look at the P&L, but we don't need that many. We want to analyze our money. We want to analyze our income and our revenue. And so with all of these different types of accounts, it's going to be harder to make good financial decisions when we run our P&L, which is what you're going to be using as a business owner. So already I'm seeing red flags here when it comes to our income accounts. Cost of goods sold, which when you are selling products is what it costs to produce or make those products, or if you bought them, buying them, if you manufacture them, the inputs that you have. So multiple accounts. And if you're a service-based provider, cost of services would be maybe technology you're using to service the clients or labor that you're using to service. So already here, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This guy, because it's a sample company, it's Craig's Landscaping, we're not seeing enough accounts in the cost of goods sold. That's my red flag number 2. So for you, if you want right now, just go pause this, go to your chart of accounts, and even just look at your balance sheet and your income, and just take a kind of a mental note here if this is making sense, if you're feeling confident about the amount of income chart of accounts that you have, what kind of cost of goods sold do you have, right? So let's just do this real time so you can get some real great value immediately out of this. All right, so then come back when you're ready. And what we're going to do now is look at all of our expenses. So when I look at expenses as a CPA and somebody advising 6- and 7-figure business owners, we want to know where we're putting our money. We want to put that money into buckets. The faster we can put money into buckets, the faster we can actually manage and control it a little bit better. And so what I'm seeing here is that there aren't buckets, or aren't too many buckets. They're just expenses. So I feel like I'm looking at advertising, and these are alphabetical. There's no account numbering, so I'm seeing advertising, auto, bank, commissions. What I want to see are groups. I want to see, what are my sales and my marketing costs? What are my operating costs? What are my facility costs? So what I want you to do is go look at your expenses and see if there are categories already in your expenses, because you want to be able to analyze, just as you are driving business decisions, that this actually makes sense for your business, that the way that it's architected. And when you look at your P&L, your profit and loss statement, you can say, okay, yeah, I can understand. We put this much in our marketing as the bucket. I can see what was in advertising, what was in paid advertising, what was in social, maybe it was even labor, but I can actually see this whole bucket amount for marketing. So really essential as we get into this. We do have legal and professional templated, and then repairs and maintenance, office promotion, right? So that's your homework. Look at the chart of accounts. Definitely you want different buckets for the different aspects: growing your business, sales and marketing, operating your business, operational facility expenses, as well as just the admin type. And within that, you want to bucket some of these accounts. And the important reason I'm going to show you as we go into our report section is your reports are going to reflect what your chart of accounts looks like, right? So this is the architecture that's super important as we run our report. So let's get into the report section. What we have in the report section are standard reports, custom reports, and management reports. You can favorite your favorites that will always show up in your standard reports. Standard reports are amazing, but I'm going to show you custom reports, because this is where you're going to start making a little bit more money, because you analyze things a little bit better and can really see what's happening in your financial performance. So I'm still in the standard report function. I pulled the P&L. I'm going to look at this from this year to date, from January. Today, we're on the 3rd of September. And your accounting method, you should know it. Cash is we recognize income and expenses when you actually receive the income and pay the expenses. Accrual is when you incur, or when you've, actually generated the income maybe you haven't been paid for it, right? You have a receivables balance and you've incurred the expense. So make sure that you definitely check with your tax accountant on this. Your EIN will also show what your accounting method is, because you do want to run your reports. There's reasons why you might want to run them in different ways, but you want to run your reports according to your accounting method. So I'm just going to do cash here, assuming this is a cash-based business. All right. And when I look at this, let's just look at it how it is, because I haven't customized it all. I'm overwhelmed by how the income is showing up. I can't really make so much sense out of it. It's just looking like numbers. I'm like, okay, 5,000, great. Cost of goods sold, 228. Okay, my gross profit. And then I see I've got advertising, then auto, then job, legal. And I just see this and I'm like, these are numbers, but they're not painting a beautiful picture for me. How do we make that a little bit more beautiful? I'm going to show you two ways. One big area that I like to do is to play with two things. We can play with time, and then we can play with looking at your income as a percentage of a total, right? So let's do that one first. I'm going to look at all of these line items as a percentage of income. So 100% is total income. That makes sense. But then I can see, oh, okay, 9% of my income is related to my auto expenses. Okay, wow. So job materials, it's like almost 20%. This allows me to get a grip on what is happening in terms of my expenses. So my total expenses account for 75%. I've got a net profit margin of 19%. A gross profit is ultimately your income minus your cost of goods sold or your cost of services. So it tells the profitability of your business. And this, at this rate, you're like, well, wow, this is a really profitable business. I'm a CPA. This is a test file. The job materials all should be included in that amount, right? So we also need to architect this a little bit better. But I want you now to just try that. So you could just go to the compare function, and I did a percentage of income. You can also compare it to the previous year. There's nothing because it's a sample file, right? But then you could see the difference of the previous year. Another one that I like to do is to display because this is a year to date, right? So the year to date results, that's great, but let's look at it by month. I'm going to remove. So the only thing is when you do too many functions and you look at it every month, each column will say current and percentage of income. We can do that, but the analysis, your brain, when it's looking at the data, it's going to get a little bit more foggy. So let's just take away the percentage for this one because we can customize multiple reports. I'm looking now, I'm like, okay, so I can see my May, my July, my August, right? So I can actually see the data here month by month. Now you would use this if you're analyzing trends, if you're really wanting to kind of spot certain areas that you want more detail on, is looking at it the monthly. So I love to look at this as part of a financial review every month to see, okay, how are we comparing? It gives me a good idea about, okay, what else happened with the last part of the year. So really important. And so when we save this, I'm going to do this P year to date, P&L, monthly P&L, right? Because it's monthly. And then I can share this if I have other people on my team. And I'm going to make a group that's called financial reporting. Okay, let's look. I've got my year-to-date financial reporting. So then I can run this whenever I want, and it would then show an update, because this is year-to-date, where we were from the beginning of the year to the current date. And so that's a very fast way that a lot of people aren't using to actually generate your reports. So just want to recap because we did cover a few things in the reporting section. And the reporting section is where most business owners are losing a ton of money because they're not using their reports, not creating their reports correctly, or their accountants aren't creating their reports correctly. First, number one issue is the chart of accounts designed in a way that makes the financial statements and financial reports easy to use? That's the first thing. And most likely that's an issue. in Money Like a Boss. That's number one. Number two is when I pull a financial report, am I getting bogged down by too much data? And am I looking at percentages to also help me, right? So I showed you that we can use the compare function and to look at this as a percentage of total income. It's the easiest one to really get started with. So then I can actually see and make some really easy analysis with the percentages, right? So using the percentage and then also using time in our reporting. And you can save all of these. And this one, like I can save this because it's new. Well, it's saved as the year-to-date monthly report. So now I can always access this. So all of a sudden, my financial reviews become so much easier than they ever had before. And they actually make sense. And I can make decisions now based off of this data. So this is the power of truly using QuickBooks. Now, to make this stuff happen, you have to have a good bookkeeper. You have to have a great chart of accounts, and you have to have the financial habits that it continues to operate, right? So data comes in, it's getting categorized correctly. And there is so much with the AI function of QBO that you really can use to your advantage. If you found this valuable, could you please shoot me an email and let me know what was the most kind of interesting thing that you learned from this quick QuickBooks session? Now, mind you, I wanted to give you the three core things that most people are not doing that are really wasting their money and their time. QBO is a very robust program. I didn't talk to you about, setting up invoice templates or how do you set up flows with your bank feed or any of that stuff. That's number one. Please let me know what you got the most value out of. And if you have any feedback, I'd always love to hear that. So make sure that if you're like, oh, Simone, I really wanted to hear this, please let me know. If you are a six-figure business, if you are a seven-figure business, and you do want to take your business to the next financial milestone, you want more systems, you want more structure, you want to feel really empowered about your money. You don't yet have a CFO, you don't know actually when you're going to get a CFO, but you want somebody to support you, make sure that everything is kind of laid out correctly, and you've got the money systems to scale, then come and join me in Money Like a Boss. This is a 3-month program. You've got access to all of the digital program instantly the moment that you enroll, where you can learn really cool tools, not only on QuickBooks, but on actually setting up the financial foundation. How do you build a budget? How do you use money allocations so you have better cash management systems? And ultimately, how do you even price to profit? And you got access to me through office hours twice a month. Like, it is a very great program for you to really take yourself and your business to that next financial milestone, having all of the support there. So make sure that you check that page out. I'll make sure that I send it to you after this training. And if you've got a small team, you got somebody doing the bookkeeping already, and you felt like this really resonated for you, then it's either you join or they join so you can make sure that they've got the tools and the training to really support themselves while helping you grow your business. So I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to get trained with me, to learn a little bit more about QBO. This is such a robust program. You're putting money in. Let's get the money working for you with these small but very, very powerful hacks. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Simone Samaluka Radzins, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.